So then, those are the vertices. So the green dots are the vertices. They don't have any data on them. To put data on them, you say data on vertices, and the vertices now have the data. You can, increase the size or decrease the size. Don't worry about 3D. You don't really need 3D. So one feature you have there is this is only drawing the points on the surface. That's because if you want to draw, that's so that when you pick a point, you're only picking, most of the time you want to pick a point on the surface. But and it only draws them on the visible surfaces. So I shut the surfaces off, you don't see them. If I want to draw all the 3D points, then I click the all button. So then when I click those off, I can still see the points. But by default, if off is clicked, it will only draw the points on the visible surfaces. Okay, why is that? Sorry. Visible surfaces. Okay, let's turn off the points. Okay, so let's put data on none. Okay, so this is the model here. So models can have different surfaces. And if we do image randomly color, we can see this model has 3 surfaces. And that's base, endo, and epi. So you can control the appearance of the surfaces. So if I pick, for instance, the base, and I do the fill color, you can pick any color you want, apply, you can, okay, this is a pretty small, not the most interesting, see the epi fill color. And so you can control the opacities, how transparent it is. All the surfaces can be controlled independently. So we also have control over the lighting. So with the lighting, you can get a lot of different effects, and we'll see some of that later. So you control fill color. Let's just put the opacity for now. So we can control the lighting. So the lights, so this is the light, it's always, this mode, the light is always shining directly on it from your eye. We can have a world view where the light is fixed, even in space. As we rotate it, we don't change. This red arrow is the direction of the light. Or we can just put it back into eye view, and then you can reset that. So the colors, so there's different, so to really control how the object looks, you can make it look like plastic, you can make it look like glass, you can make it look metallic, and that's by controlling these, the types of light. So if you look in the manual, that it describes what all these lights. So ambient light is the light that's the same on all the pixels. That's sort of the, there's no direction to it. It's just bouncing off every surface. There's specular, which is the white light, which reflects. It's based on the surface incidence, and diffusive, which is similar, but it's the color of the object. There's also facet shading. Some people like that sort of look. Some people in Gratz, I've heard. And okay, so once you get a model, so let's put our data back on. So you just say all. So there's our data, for example. We can change the color map. So color scale here, you can change there, or that color map. So I'm willing to take suggestions for color maps. I have different color maps I like for different purposes. And Kindleman. I'm a big fan of perceptually uniform color maps. Close that. So yeah, so just go to time. Okay, what do I want to do now? Okay, so what other tricks can we do? We have something called data opacity. So data opacity can be applied to different sorts of objects. Let's apply it to the surface pace. So basically, so what this just did was it said anything below a value of 0 has an opacity of 0, meaning that it's totally transparent. If it's above 1, it's 0. And so you can see that there's a fine line, and we could but we don't have to. We could just increase it a bit so you can make a point of it. This can be applied to points or points or surface elements or line elements, 1D elements. Or you can, if you do it if we do it a range, say -40 and 20, then the values in between 40 and 20 are linearly mapped from 0 to 1. So you can make some neat effects by using surface opacity. That's a bit weird, but that's what it turns out to be. Okay, what else can we do? There's something else that's called dead data. So if you have, say you do a calculation on the data and you come up with a new field, and you know that there's some values that are garbage. So if you do velocity, so you can actually have it ignore not a number. So if you have not a number in your data set, it will ignore it. And you could say for some reason, the data can only have a maximum of 10, and everything above that we consider to be a bogus value. Then you can say, and then you can select the color of that bogus value. So maybe we'll make it gray. So that everything is gray should be ignored, or actually we'll go to 0. And we apply, and we can see that everything above 0 now, 0 is the maximum permissible value. Everything above that is going to have what we call this dead color, or we could even make it transparent. So this is good if, again, for process data where you have some quirkiness in your mesh that might create some artifacts, you can know to ignore it. Or you can set it to whatever you want. Okay. What did we just do there? What is data? Okay, done. So then once you get something good and you like it, then what you can do is we can store the state of it. So that's saving state. And we can give it a name, and we'll just call it B. And then you do whatever you want. And we can put this over here, there. And then when we read the state, it puts it exactly where it was before. Okay, let's wait. Okay, now these are a lot of features. Pick a point, display, vertex, change vertex, size. And here's a little trick that not everyone knows. So say I have this color scale that goes from black to so the lower values are sort of this dark blue black, and higher values are this white. But for some reason, say we wanted to reverse this color scale, how can we easily do that? Well, if we go to either the maximum or minimum button and we do, I'm using a 2-finger click, or do a left click, hit reverse, and we've changed now the color scale. So the lower values are now in white and the upper values are now in black. And that's at rest, and let's start that. I think I saw some data opacity on, do I? No, data range done. Okay. Anyways, so then therefore, yeah, so you don't have to so if you wanted to flip your color scale, it's very easy. And symmetric min or symmetric max means it will make it plus or minus some value. So it goes from 42 to -42. So in case you have some, if you're looking at some variation about a mean, you can, about 0, it's easy to do that. Okay, so what's something else I've implemented, probably underutilized, there's something called Flybys. And a flyby is a way to make your model go through different states and then do a nice transition between the states. So if, for instance, okay. Am I still having, where's my data, opacity, surface face, it's something's weird. I have something weird. Why do I have some weird setting? Okay, so if I have a state, so if I want to do a flyby, what I do is I have to save a bunch of different model views. So if I click on the plus button, I add a state. And then I can change my view and add a state. And then I click on the first, and if I play it, it will then go between the two states. And then I can add another state. Now I can even actually, oh, I want to put that down one. And I can start here and press play. So it's, what is that popping up? So, and you can control a lot of things. So you control if that was a bit jerky, if you want more. So this is the number of steps between frames. So if we want a smoother transition, we do 20. You can do as many as you want. And then that's to load it. Why does this thing keep popping up? Oh, so it goes smoother and smoother. And then you can have it output the images for each of those things. You can also have it advance in time while it's doing that. So your simulation's still working while you're doing your flyby. And you can just, and so you can, it's also a way for you to store different views and keep track of them. So anyway, and it will interpolate certain, again, yeah, interpolates the position and advances the time. You have control over all those things. So it's a nice way to just show your model off and move it different parts of it while you're making a nice movie.